What's going on, everybody? Andrew here, and today I want to compare two popular home guitar setups for both playing and recording. One is the Line 6 Helix Native software that's a plugin that drops right into your DAW, and the other is a tube amp that is played through a reactive load and then played with impulse responses to simulate the speaker, the cabinet, and the microphone. Both of these setups are great for a small studio, especially one like mine where I don't really have room for a real cabinet and a microphone. I also wouldn't be able to handle the noise levels in a small apartment. I'm gonna test a wide range of gain tones using both a Stratocaster and also my Gibson ES135, which is like a semi-hollow with humbuckers. Feel free to use the channel markers to skip straight to the sound comparisons, but I am gonna take a second to explain how I set it up and also how both systems work. If you enjoy guitar-related content and you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing and ring the bell so you'll be notified when I post a new video. So if you're not familiar with the Line 6 Helix system, it's a digital system that's based in like a floor unit. There's also like the HX Stomp, and now they also have a plugin that you can drop right in your channel strip. It's a system that basically emulates guitar amps, cabinets, effects pedals, microphones, the entire guitar recording signal chain in a digital format, and it sounds relatively good. The digital modeling, since my Zoom 606 back in the day, has really come a long way, and it does sound really good with no amps, no nothing. It's all digital. The second setup that I have is a actual tube amplifier, but instead of plugging it into a guitar cabinet, it's plugged into what's called a reactive load box. Now with a tube guitar head, it's dissipating a certain amount of energy, and that energy is usually transferred to a speaker cabinet. Now if you turn a tube amp on and it's not hooked up to a speaker cabinet, there's nowhere for that energy to go and you can damage the amplifier. Now something that's luckily been created is called a reactive load, and you can plug the amp into this device just like it's a speaker, and it lets the amp know that it's plugged into something. It sounds and reacts exactly as if you're plugged into a speaker cabinet. It's really awesome. The Suhr Reactive Load IR is not only a reactive load, but it also incorporates impulse response technology. And if you're ever confused about what an impulse response is, it's essentially just a digital format of what a speaker, a cabinet, and a microphone would sound like. So you take a 412 Marshall cabinet and a Celestion speaker and an SM57, and what does that sound like when you put an amp into it and when you take the signal from the microphone? That's what an impulse response is. It's held in a digital format, and you can use all these different impulse responses. You can have one that's like a deluxe reverb cabinet. You can have one that's like an AC30 cabinet with one speaker or with another speaker. So today what I have is my Suhr Badger 18 head. I'm really stoked about having this. I also have the reactive load, and I have the Coco boost running into it, which is basically just a clean boost and a mid boost. I feel like it goes really well with the amp, and for this test I'm not using any other pedals. So for the sound comparisons, just a couple things to get out of the way. On the Helix, I am going to be switching between different amps because that's one of the big benefits of the Helix, is that you can do a deluxe reverb for your clean sound, you can do an AC30 for that edge of breakup sound, and then you can do like a Friedman, and these are all models of these amps, for like a high gain sound. And when you have a real tube amp, and for me, I only have one, and I feel like that's pretty realistic. If someone's gonna upgrade from a Helix to having an amp and reactive load, you're probably not gonna be able to buy like 4 amplifiers at once. So I'm gonna be getting all of the tones to match all of the different gain stages out of this one amp, but I'm gonna be switching the amps on Helix just to sort of make it realistic. Having that said, I'm using the Helix amps and cabs only. There's no EQ, no compression, no post anything. I have a little bit of reverb on Logic just to give it a little bit of a better feel, because I feel like guitars can kind of sound a little stiff if you don't have any little bit of reverb on it. And all the cabinets on the Helix patches and on the reactive load are gonna be using the SM57 mic emulation. I'm using the same settings between guitars, so you'll see me switch from a Stratocaster to a humbucker guitar for each setting. The amp settings do not change, they're the same. I wanted to also keep that sort of consistent. So after listening to all the samples, I would love to know in the comments what you think. I know that it can be difficult to tell. I tried to play as many different things and also as many things consistently between the two settings as I could. You know, I think that there's a couple things to consider here. Right off the bat, I think that the Badger as an amp doesn't do high gain quite as well as what you could get on a Helix. So I feel like where it really shined was like the edge of breakup and crunch categories, but I do really love this head. You know, I bought this head because it was versatile and I really am happy with it. The other huge things to consider if you're going with this kind of setup are obviously the convenience factor. Helix has a ton of sounds. If you're gonna be using a lot of different sounds, or if you're in some sort of like crazy cover band where you need to cover a lot of different like actual sounds and like different amp tones and modulation, the Helix is probably gonna be way easier than getting a tube amp and a pedal board. Also, I think it's good to consider the style of music that you play. You know, I'm very particular about my tones. You know, I was using the Helix for a long time. I was using like the DAW, the native version, and I really just felt like I was lacking something. And when I got the tube amp and the reactive load, it gives me that sort of like gutsy, you know, overtone, harmonic sort of thing that I was missing, you know, naturally from something that was purely digital. The other thing to consider here would be the budget. You know, the Helix Native for me, since I already had Helix, was only $99. This amp and the reactive load and everything is probably around like $1,800, so it's gonna be a little bit of a bigger investment, but that's up for you to decide. Again, I would love to know your thoughts. Please leave a comment letting me know what you use at home. If you feel like maybe you were inspired to get either of these from this demo, I would love to know. And again, if you like the video, please hit the like button. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe and ring the bell so you'll be notified when I post a new video. I encourage you guys to check out my other stuff, and maybe I'll see you in another video. Take it easy.